Part 42. All Heaven's Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 415. 409 Pure World. In fact, the current situation in the world of Command and Conquer is quite simple to explain. It is just that a strange alien mineral tiberium descended on the Earth and spread rapidly in a long period of 5 years. Then two huge organizations, the Brotherhood of Nod and GDI, were born around this mineral, and then the World War blah blah began. Wang Jinsong quickly finished introducing the situation here, and then led Sean, Knight, and the others around several bases in the ruined city. Including the residential area under construction in Muhi Village, Beatty Village, and Xingfu Village, the research institute located in Nuhua Base, the military-industrial area located in Helang Base, the resource area located in the mining field, and the front fortress located in Iron Hammer Town. They also took them on a tour. Although most of these places are currently under construction and only have a prototype, they also show unlimited potential. Especially the emergence of the Red Queen of Artificial Intelligence, and those production lines built by the Infinite Base that cannot be entered at all, but are fully automatic, can be said to be super standard and surreal. However, Ellie Filmer still didn't take it seriously. She looked around and said lightly, "I thought what an amazing world you wanted to show us, but I didn't expect it to be similar to our original world, is also a destroyed world." Pointing to the surrounding ruins, she continued, "And it is also rebuilding civilization in the ruins. Although there is no nuclear radiation in the air, there is even deadlier tiberium. How much potential can such a world have?" Chen Yuyan hadn't spoken yet, but Tomoko Gaoliang spoke. She adjusted her cat's eye glasses, and said coldly, "Question 1, this world has a complete industrial system and national administrative system, but the current situation we are in, the location is very remote. Otherwise, under the watchful eyes of Nod and GDI, we have no room for development. Question 2, if you can deeply understand the power of tiberium, you will understand the potential," just said, blushing at the crude judgment of. Just as they were talking, more than a dozen Predator Alpha passed by. They had just come out of the production line of the Black Wolf base and were heading towards the ruins in the south of the city. The ruins in the south of the city have no roads because of the complex terrain, so it has become a B.O.W's paradise. Apart from using airstrikes, there is no possibility of being threatened by ground troops. In a sense, the ruins in the south of the city have become a wall of the ruined city. Seeing this group of hunters Alpha, Ellie Fillmore finally changed her face slightly and didn't speak anymore. Seeing her expression, Tomoko Takara sneered and said, "Did you see it? This is a systematically produced biological weapon, that is, industrialized and large-scale production. I know that there are indeed many interesting things in your radiation world. Advanced technology, but most of them are just small-scale troubles and cannot make a difference." Chen Yuyan couldn't help but take another look at her. Tomoko Gaoliang hadn't been so active before. It seems that he finally fulfilled his promise and pulled her into the team after advancing to the Silver Group, so that she would not have that layer of worries. At least now, this business genius who graduated from Waseda University in Japan and survived in the world of Resident Evil with his own business ability finally has a sense of belonging. He added in a timely manner, "I hope you can recognize a reality, Dr. Ali Filmer. I gave you the opportunity to go to other worlds, not to let you take a vacation. You are captives after the defeat and surrender. And when I summoned you to come to this world, the voice that appeared in your mind also clearly told you one thing: you are my private property." As he said that, he glanced at Ellie Filmer, whose face was a little pale, and then looked at Sean, and said, "Or let me put it more nicely, if you make me stronger, then you can master it. The more resources I have, the better my life will be. If I am finally defeated in the war, you will not have the chance to surrender to the new master. At that time, you will die too. It's that simple." Justin Eyre was very open-minded, and he immediately said, As long as there are enough, important enough, and cutting-edge research projects for me, I don't care about anything. Compared to this, I really have a lot of knowledge about tiberium mines. Interest, I can't wait to experience the magic of this alien substance. Chen Yuyan smiled, let's go to the world of Resident Evil first. That world is a world that has not been invaded by war. After finishing speaking, he nodded to Lin Huo and Gao Liangzi, and said in his mind, System, I will pay 2,000 points and go to the world of Resident Evil for 10 days. Besides him, there is another experimenter in the world of Resident Evil, so he needs to pay 200 points every day. The world of Command and Conquer is not a safe place. In contrast, Chen Yuyan hopes to place the Academy in the world of Resident Evil, lest one day GDI's bombers suddenly fly over and blow up here. And compared to the world of Command and Conquer, the world of Resident Evil is still attractive enough to the scientists of the Academy. For these scientists, it is still necessary to give kindness and kindness at the same time. After all, they are engaged in creative research, and subjective initiative is very important. The white light flickered for a while, and everyone disappeared from the spot. The next second when they opened their eyes, they were already in the farm in Texas. This is, Sean, Ellie, and the others were immediately stunned by the sight in front of them. The golden ears of wheat fluctuate with the wind, and the scent of earth echoes in their noses. In the distance, agricultural machinery can be seen in operation. Cars pass by on the road with the sound of engines. In the sky, a passenger plane descending altitude, preparing to land at the Dallas airport. This is, Knight was also stunned. He took 2 steps, came to the edge of the field, grabbed a bunch of wheat ears, put it in front of his nose and smelled it, and burst into tears. This is. That's right, here is the world before the war. Chen Yuyan said very calmly, come on, let's change our clothes first, and then I will find someone to solve your identity problem. What identity issue? Justin Eyre asked. Do you think this is still wasteland? Wherever I stand is my home. In the world before the war, there were social systems and rules. Chen Yuyan took out his mobile phone and called Carly Lloyd. He wanted to ask this question. Is there a way for the planter's daughter to resolve the identity issue? Thanks to Lpldis for the 1,000 starting coins. Thanks to Science Tuition, Shanghai Beat 01, 124 Simple 865 for the 100 starting coins. All Heavens Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 416. 410 Technical Team. Is there a problem with identity? You want American citizenship, right? Are those people you run black households? Carly Lloyd's voice came. That's right, Sanweo personnel, nothing. Chen Yuyan replied. You can choose to immigrate by investment. In the countryside of Texas, you should be able to immigrate with an investment of $500,000. But these projects should be selected from the agricultural products group under my father, otherwise it will not be easy to pass. Cardly answered. Chen Yuyan thought about it. Now he is far from rich and powerful in the ruined world group in this world, 1 or 2 is fine, if there are too many people, it is really a problem if they all choose to invest and immigrate. Seeing that he hadn't spoken, Carly also guessed, you have a lot of people who need to solve the identity problem, right? I suggest you do this. You can first find a small country to apply for residency, and then apply for an H-1B work visa to come to the United States. After that, if the Ruin World Group develops smoothly, then you can apply for green cards for employees in the name of the group, which will be more convenient. Okay, then help me get this done. Chen Yuyan kicked the ball over with one kick. I don't want to be at your beck and call all day, please, how about this, I'll ask my lawyer to come over and help. In fact, you can go to the people I recommended to you before, Horna and the others, it's very easy for them to handle this matter simple. Carly said lazily. Chunyuan smiled and said, speaking of Ruin World Group, aren't you the group's chief marketing officer CMO? If I don't ask you, who should I look for? I'm already a CMO, why should I do things myself? Carly was very upset. Because in the entire Ruins World Group, apart from you few senior executives, the people below are all cleaners and construction workers. Chunyuan said confidently. Ah, well, I'll come over with the lawyer later. Carly was discouraged all of a sudden, and hung up the phone angrily. Chunyuan put down his phone, looked at Nat and the others with emotion, and said, do you believe me this time? I believe. It's amazing. This world. Knight had already burst into tears. I thought I was going to spend my whole life in that doomsday wasteland. The current time in this world is a long time ago. Although the time is very early, this world has very advanced biotechnology, which is at least 100 years more advanced than normal. Chunyuan explained, turning his head to Gao Liang. Tomoko said, go and contact some of your previous relationships in Sanli and Company, and find a way to send Sean to the most advanced hospital for treatment. His condition cannot be delayed. Okay. Tomoko Gaoliang immediately agreed, and then took out her mobile phone to start contacting. You said normal situation just now, can I understand that you have a normal standard in your mind? For the technological development of a world? Sean asked. That's right, according to that standard, the technology of the Fallout world you are in is at least half a century advanced in electron tubes, and at least 100 years advanced in nuclear industry. Chunyuan replied. Sean nodded thoughtfully and stopped talking. Chunyuan explained again, however, the space-time channel in this world is not stable yet, this time we can only stay in this world for 10 days. We still need some work to make this world truly connected to Command and Conquer, only then will we be able to truly shuttle among several worlds freely. So before that, we still stay in the world of Command and Conquer first. If there is anything I can help with, I can do whatever I want. Justin Eyre said eagerly. Ellie Fillmore also nodded beside her. Now, after seeing the world of Resident Evil that was not destroyed by the war at all, she completely put away her previous contempt and distrust of Chunyuan, and made up her mind she must wholeheartedly serve Chunyuan who can bring them into this world. Your specialty is not fighting. I have experts in this area. At present, you should solve the identity problem first, and then see what we need to do. Chunyuan replied. Soon, a classic Lexus LS430 drove over, and Carly Lloyd, who weighed at least 200 kilograms, squeezed out of the car with some difficulty. Sean and the others stared at Carly with strange eyes, because in the wasteland, a fat body is a real luxury. Justin Eyre, who was more familiar with the wasteland world, even thought that with Carly's figure, if she went to the federal wasteland, those super mutants might even be willing to launch an all-out war in order to compete for her. Seeing them, Carly felt a little uncomfortable with their eyes, frowned and said, that's them? Benjamin, you can handle it. One thing must be paid attention to, because they are the professional and technical personnel I recruited for the group company. Chunyuan said. If this is the case, you can immigrate to Canada first. If you have professional and technical personnel, you can take the route of skilled immigration. A lawyer in a black suit said as he got out of the car. But they don't have a diploma from any school. Chunyuan shook his head and said. No problem, you can choose the University of Western Ontario and obtain student status through private donations. This is cheaper than investment immigration, but the premise is that they have real materials. The lawyer adjusted his glasses and said. Then you go and do it? Chunyuan sent the lawyer away, and then said to Carly, if you happen to be here, let's go to the headquarters of the Ruin World Group together, I have something to discuss with Huona and the others. Tomoko Gaoliang has also been contacted, and it is a top medical institution under the Sanli and Company. Don't think that this is a self-inflicted trap. In fact, whether it is Umbrella or Sanlian, they have many medical institutions, and these medical institutions, as the white industries of these companies, can be said to be very reliable. In addition, even if Xiao En is sent there, no one in this world will know him at all. Even if the only remaining experimenter saw it, it didn't matter, because Sean himself was not a very recognizable existence, and with the low-key level of that experimenter, he couldn't stretch his hand so far. What Spectre said is correct, the experimenter left few traces, which means low-key, and low-key means that there are very few things that can be done. Tomoko Gaoliang has already contacted someone, and asked an assistant who came to take Sean and the female nurse to leave. This connection is still no problem for her. Knight also regained his mood, asked Chen Yuyan and left with Xiao En after learning that they were going to do some business things next. An hour later, Chen Yuyan and his party came directly to an office building in Dallas, the state capital of Texas. This small 4-story building was rented out entirely by Horna, and some workers can still be seen outside the building installing the logo of Ruin World Group on the outer wall of the office building. "Ah, you're here, Boss Yan." Huo Na was on the phone in the office, and she wasn't surprised to see Chen Yuyan coming. After all, to them, Chen Yuyan had just left for a few days. "I brought a whole technical team. Next, we need to discuss how to develop faster," Chen Yuyan said with a smile. "You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. All Heavens Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 417. 411 Direction. The group sat down directly in the meeting room, and Huo Na and her friends also put down their work and came to sit down. After all, the big boss is here, and it seems that there is something important to announce. Group CEO Huo Na, CFO Matthew, CIO Liang Li, Corona, and CMO Carly Lloyd are the core of our group's entire business system in the future. And Murphy's, who is the CTO, has been at the Atlantic Research Institute recently, organizing people to study his newly discovered T-virus variant, so he didn't come here either. On Chen Yuyan's side, Tomoko Gaoliang, Lin Huo, and Yi Yi, members of the Ruins Legion, and Justin Eyre and Ellie Filmer sent by the Academy are also here. Ian Walcott, the director of the medical department of the college, was still a little worried about the medical level of this world, so he followed Sean to the past, so he didn't participate. Looking at the people around him, Chen Yuyan felt a sense of fulfillment for the first time. He felt that his team was gradually growing, which relieved his previous feeling of being powerless in everything he wanted. At least when it comes to business, scientific research, and other fields that he is unfamiliar with, he can finally be a shopkeeper and leave things to others. He first looked at the people around him, and then introduced Ellie and Justin to everyone. These two are Justin L. and Ellie Filmer, and they will be the core members of our group's scientific research strength in the future. In the future, our scientific research team will gradually grow, even reaching the level of more than 100 people. 100 people. Do we have the ability to afford such a large scientific research team now? Huo Na frowned and asked. No ability. But we also have to do it, pull up our scientific research team, and then carry out research in several directions at the same time in biological sciences, robotics, tiberium mines, and advanced systems. As for the research site, the Antarctica Research Institute and the Atlantic Research Institute is enough for the time being. I will find a way to get the equipment in it gradually. Chen Yuyan said. That is to say, the core direction of our group's future is scientific research? Liang Li asked weakly, raising his hand. Chen Yuyan shook his head and said, no, the direction of our group will never change, that is manufacturing and heavy industry. The main purpose of all scientific research is to build a huge manufacturing empire. But, Huo Na was still a little worried. She wanted to say something, but was interrupted by Chen Yuyan raising her hand. These are my concerns, not yours. The main content of our meeting today is to determine the business policy of our group in the near future. Chen Yuyan said. Our recent actions, isn't it selling some expensive robots while using tiberium mines to carry out garbage recycling and processing, and then gradually extend our hands to the processing of nuclear waste? Corona asked, raising his hand. Chen Yuyan shook his head and said, this policy can indeed be said to be able to gently draw out the existence of tiberium mines, and it can also gradually merge the group into the orbit of the world economy in an area that has not been noticed beyond. But we face some problems. As he spoke, he raised two fingers. First question, you should have heard about the incident in Raccoon City before, right? Now I will tell you that the US military launched a nuclear bomb in order to stop the spread of the virus. However, in Raccoon City the amount of nuclear radiation in the city's nuclear explosion center was less than expected. Liang Li reacted the fastest. He was startled and asked quickly, could it be, tiberium mine? That's right. The tiberium mine leaked in Raccoon City and has been discovered by the US military, so we must speed up. The second problem is that our scientific research team brought their research results, and we need to transform these research results into our strength as soon as possible. Chen Yuyan said. If you want to make money, you don't need to be so radical, right? Chief Financial Officer Matthew frowned. Yes, because the technologies we develop are very sensitive, so I have to use some unconventional means to protect our scientific research results, and just a garbage disposal project is not enough for me to expand and hide our power. Chen Yuyan said. This time, Huona and the others also understood what Chen Yuyan wanted. That is an informal military force. However, in this world, this is not a very unusual thing. Behemoths such as Umbrella Corporation, Sanlian Corporation, and Shinya Group all have their own mercenary teams. Then let's see what technologies we have now. Lin Huo said beside him, he couldn't wait a long time ago, and Tomoko Gaoliang also looked eager to try. One must know that when Chen Yuyan traveled to other worlds for training, he took a mission with him. After everyone's analysis before, Lin Huo and Gao Liang's Haizi have analyzed the dilemma faced by the ruined army. They offended two great enemies at the same time, Lu Weiwei, the leader of Torch City's Bian, and Tai Long, the warlord of the Forgotten. And because Lu Weiwei belongs to the Nod Brotherhood system, if according to the plot, after Cain, the true leader of the Nod Brotherhood, reappears, Torch City will receive a lot of assistance from the Nod Brotherhood, and their strength will expand to the point where the Legion of Ruin cannot match. Degree. Tai Long is also a huge threat. On the one hand, Tai Long has not made any moves and is probably holding back his big moves. Moreover, the Forsaken tribes are often all soldiers. The number of people that Iron Dragon can mobilize is quite amazing. In addition, they are located in the red zone where the tiberium mine is severely eroded, which makes their sphere of influence basically no strangers. So if Chen Yuyan didn't find the power to reverse the situation in other worlds this time, they would basically confess. Lin Huo and Gao Liang's Haizi are also full of expectations for this harvest. Chen Yuyan directly took out a USB flash drive and inserted it into the computer, operated it, and then a long list appeared in front of everyone. Everyone's eyes widened when they saw the screen. Ellie and Justin were amazed at the huge LED screen in front of them. They had never seen such a colorful and clear screen. Others, however, were amazed by the above content. Basically speaking, the technologies I have harvested this time are mainly in three aspects: the Academy, the Brotherhood of Steel and the Master of Mechanics. Chen Yuyan introduced, the first is the technology of the Academy. He clicked on one of the entries, and a large number of pictures appeared on it, mainly including synthetic humans, laser weapons, fusion reactors, and molecular teleporters. In addition, there are very mature cloning and genetic technologies. In addition, for the FEV virus, that is to say, there are also very systematic studies on forced evolution of viruses. Then he opened the entry of the Brotherhood of Steel, about Brotherhood of Steel's technology, mainly T-45 and T-60 power armor. Other technologies are more scattered, and most of them are collected from various places. It mainly includes the Pridewin airship, the large combat robot Liberty Supreme, various laser weapons, bird helicopters, and some individual weapons such as nuclear batteries, gauze rifles, and plasma weapons. Finally, he opened the entry of the Mechanic Master. Then there are all kinds of combat robot technology obtained from the Mechanic Master, even the project of brain-controlled robots. There are also some scattered technologies, such as plasma rocket engines, for example, some computers based on transistor technology. Looking at these robots with extremely hideous shapes, and you can feel the chilling meaning contained in them just by looking at them, Tomoko Gaoliang and Lin Huo's eyes are full of light. You actually got the technology of the Brotherhood of Steel and the Academy. And you also got the technology of the Mechanic Master? Lin Huo was extremely surprised. In this way, we finally have a chance of winning. But Huo Na and the others looked at these robots with only fear in their eyes. No matter what, they would never believe that the robots in these photos were fakes. Boss Yan in front of him could even produce genuine tiberium mines. It seemed that it would not be difficult to get some robots. But the problem is that these robots don't look like they were prepared for this peaceful age. Huo Na looked at Chun Yuyan carefully, and asked softly, "That, we won't be silenced, right?" Chun Yuyan smiled. He took out these technologies directly, in order to test Huo Na and the others. After all, no matter what these things are, they are just technologies that exist in the database of the infinite base. He is not worried about Huo Na and the others going to inform them. Take out these explosive things now, so that they won't think about things when they come into contact with them in the future. At that time, they worked more deeply in the group, and it was a bit distressing to clean up. He said, "Many of the things in this are useless. I have no interest in conquering the world." As he spoke, he hid the list of technologies that Liberty Supreme had a strong sense of war. Horna and the others were obviously relieved. Chun Yuyan looked at the people with different expressions again, spread his hands and said, "Okay, I have laid out the things. Now my question is, which products we need to use to make money, and which technologies need our technology? Team for further research and development. Let's discuss." Liang Li pointed to the screen and asked, "That, what is a synthetic human?" Currently we have developed 3 generations of synthetic humans, among which the first generation of synthetic humans is similar to ordinary robots. However, our design ideas are not the usual considerations of the robot's engine output and protection, but more consideration of flexibility, and similar human beings have the ability to use tools. Justin Air took up the conversation and replied, "He is now eager to show his value to Chun Yuyan, and he is eager to stay in this pre-war world. The second generation synthetics are the development of the first generation synthetics. In a sense, the first generation synthetics are a type of robot, the second generation synthetics are robots. As for the third generation synthetics are a leap in technology. All the bones, nerves, muscles and organs of the third generation synthetics are artificially cultivated, and then the synthetics are bred. In a sense, the third generation synthetics use technology, which is closer to life science than mechanical manufacturing." Huo Na nodded and said, "Then we can develop in robotics. The first generation of synthetic humans seems to be relatively cheap. If we can expand the scale, then we can form a huge industry. And its monopoly?" Corona was full of interest in the synthesizer, and his voice was much louder. "In this way, we can also reserve a batch of synthetic humans as our hidden military force," Igor also said. However, Liang Li's performance was very cautious. He asked in a low voice, "But what about social issues?" Social issues? Chun Yuyan found that the student from Yangguo had a very comprehensive thinking. That's right, a large number of cheap robots are pouring into the market, and the direct consequence is that the unemployment rate has skyrocketed. Some countries with democratic dictatorships are fine. If it is a country like the United States, it is almost certain that a large number of companies will replace ordinary workers with robots. In this way, our group will undoubtedly fall into the center of a social crisis. At that time, it is impossible to keep a low profile. Liang Li was still a little timid when he spoke, but what he said shocked everyone. Everyone became pensive. Chen Yuyan also nodded. Liang Li indeed pointed out a very fatal question. He thought for a while and asked, "What about laser weapons?" He called up the information about the Academy's laser guns. This requires a connection with the military, and do we only sell weapons to the United States? In this way, we are not bound to the United States. According to the international relationship model we established before, this result is likely because the results of this led to the Third World War. Igor asked rhetorically. Chen Yuyan sighed. The world of Resident Evil is the last paradise among the three worlds he has mastered, and he does not want this world to be destroyed in the flames of war no matter what. He raised his head and asked, "In this way, many technologies in the list will no longer be available." Liang Li thought about it again, and reminded, "Why don't you think about it? What are you making money for? Since you can bring a scientific research team of hundreds of people, you can also solve the scientific research facilities by yourself, including the facilities for robot production. You solved it? So, what is your purpose of making money?" Asking this question shocked Chen Yuyan. "Yes. I have the world of Command and Conquer and Fallout 4 behind me. What is the purpose of my development in the world of Resident Evil and making money? Development of medicine, development of garbage disposal? No. In the final analysis, it is still serving the war. For the sake of war, he can collect more resources in this world and carry out more research, so as to fight for hegemony in the world of Command and Conquer, which is the most difficult and technologically advanced among the three worlds. Instead of this, why bother to make a fuss? Is it a little bit of development without attracting others' attention, step by step? No. What is really needed is explosive development." Chen Yuyan figured this out, and immediately made up his mind. He stood up and waved his hands and said, "In this case, we will start with large-scale industries. We will directly convert the Pride-Win airship into a civil airship. Then sell it to the whole world. Then use the airship production line as a cover to fully develop the manufacturing of robots and power armor. Thanks to Lepidus for the 1000 starting point coins. Thank you for the 200 starting coins rewarded by the God of Science. All Heavens Unlimited Base." Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 418. 412. These chapters are the transition. Develop large-scale manufacturing with all our strength. Huona was taken aback by Chen Yuyan's strategy, but she immediately reacted and said, "There are problems with this. Large-scale manufacturing is like a national treasure for every country. This will force us to stand in line instead." "No. Wait a minute, it's possible." Igor suddenly added, "Last year, oh no, the year before last, at the end of 1977, the governments of Britain, France, and Germany were calling on their companies to unite and carry out integration. Only in this way can we compete with those super large groups in the United States. In their first report, they submitted it to Airbus and wanted to make an acquisition." Note 1. Liang Li also took up the conversation and said, "Actually, Yan Kingdom also has similar actions. The background of their Xinhua group is related to several large multinational conglomerates in Eastern Asia. H.C.F. and Umbrella are also such multinational groups. For example, the three directors of Umbrella, Oswell E. Spencer is a British nobleman, Edward Ashford is a German nobleman, James Marcus is a scientist from the United States." Tomoko Gaoliang adjusted his glasses. "I understand what they mean, that is, Let us base ourselves on several countries from the beginning and develop as a multinational group. But there are still many things to do. Horna stood up and said, if this is the case, we can act in response to the call of the British, French, and German governments, register investment companies in Britain, France, and Germany, and then form a multinational group in Europe in the name of the investment company. After that, extend our capital to the three major countries of Yan, the United States and Russia. It's not that easy. The remaining three big countries are the most difficult to mess with. The relationship between the United States and Europe is very sensitive now. After the disintegration of the Soviet Union, Europe has no real threat. They are facing parting ways. Russia has always been politically strong. Moreover, their current economy is in a stagnant pool, so it is hard to say what they will do. As for Yan Kingdom, their stance on international trade is different from other countries, and it is difficult to deal with them from our standpoint. Tomoko Gaoyang, he said lightly with his hands on his chest. So you have a solution? Chen Yuyan asked. I can't say I'm absolutely sure, but I'd better give it a try. You can't let Huo Na and the others who have just graduated not long ago deal with those old and cunning politicians. If you trust me, I have been staying in this world for a while. Gao Liang's Heiza said. What can I not trust you? Just go ahead and do it. The framework of our Ruins World Group is still too small to accommodate our gains this time, so you need to set up the shelf for us. The content inside will be handed over to I will fill in, and Huo Na, I will leave the operation to you. Chen Yuyan said. Okay, okay. Huo Na nodded in a daze, and she didn't know what happened at all. It seemed that she was discussing how to start a company a week ago, and she was going to talk to the top 5 in a few days dealing with rogue politicians. Chen Yuyan clapped his hands again, and said loudly, then our plan will be determined like this. First of all, we must make good use of our strengths in the field of robotics, and we must not shrink back just because it may cause social problems. But for now, our goal is still to point to the upper class crowd. Horna, you guys need to keep buying cheap land near the Chihuahua Desert in Texas. We're going to put robot factories together with garbage disposal plants in the future. Energy supply through tiberium mines, and large-scale distribution substations will also be built there. Then we need to increase the production of protector robots, and then prepare to introduce Mr. Handy robots to the market. Then we invested and set up factories in the direction of Yangguo in Southeast Asia, and the factories for the first batch of Pridewing-class civil airships began to be set up in that place. Tomoko Gaoyang interjected, when I invest in the 3 countries of Britain, France, and Germany, I can also talk to Airbus about the construction plan of the civilian version of the super airship. This airship can be directly used to open a super luxurious air hotel. But you need your technicians to come up with a modification plan as soon as possible. Leave it to me. Chen Yuyan responded, and then said to Ellie and Justin, then you follow me. I have a large-scale research base in Antarctica and the Atlantic Ocean respectively. But these research most of the facilities in the base have been damaged and need to be rebuilt. It just happened to be built according to our current research direction. So what kind of research project do we need to carry out? Justin Eyre asked. First, life sciences. The world is very developed in this area, and relevant talents are emerging in an endless stream. We cannot lag behind in this area. Second, the research and development of tiberium mines is the top priority, and it is also the key to our future development. In addition, what you have to do is to try your best to understand these worlds of ours, relearn the basic knowledge, and not let yourself get out of touch. Chen Yuyan replied. Then we don't have a specific goal? Ellie Fillmore asked. There is no goal for the time being. In this world, it is only in the state of paving the way. The existing technology is enough for a long time, and the direction of continuing technological breakthroughs is mostly focused on tiberium mines. You still need to learn about this. Next, the second batch of Academy members sent over will also focus on this aspect. Chen Yuyan said. After the arrangement was completed, Huo-Na and the others went to work immediately. Tomoko Gaoliang also seized the time to fly to Europe. She will invest in several shell companies in Europe for operation, and then she will also seek loans to solve the current problem of insufficient cash flow of a group. Then Chen Yuyan said to Lin Huo, "Now, I think our development in these worlds must be targeted. Currently, the world of Resident Evil has two values: technical support and reward point support. I asked the system before about the size of Umbrella Corporation. If it was replaced by the power of the experimenter, the rating given by the system would be at the national level, with a daily income of 2,000 points. With these points, we can solve material problems to a large extent, so the activities in the world of Resident Evil start with such a paving." Liang Li's question just now is very important. What do we do to make money in this world? The answer is to spread your power and gain points. Lin Huo nodded and said, "Indeed, in the world of Resident Evil, it is not suitable to fight for hegemony. This will instead collapse the system we have now. Starting with business in this world is a way. Then in the world of radiation, it is the mode of hegemony. That world is currently sparsely populated, but all kinds of strange technologies emerge in endlessly, and there are certain difficulties. However, if you start a war in that world, you don't have to worry about causing any damage at all. Yes, because there are not many things in the first place. Therefore, the volunteer army will be our foundation in that world. We will first occupy the entire Boston area, then occupy the Federation, and then launch a conquest operation on the east coast of the United States." Chen Yuyan said again. "But there is always a priority, right? I know you can build that kind of very advanced unmanned factory, but your production capacity is also limited. First of all, you need to set up the Academy's research facilities in the world of Resident Evil. Build a production line for robots. Then, in the Fallout world you have to start industrializing as early as possible, which also takes capacity. What about the command \U0026 Conquer World? Don't forget that's where our foundation is." Forest Fire said, "I'm worried that you're going to make a fuss if you take too long a step. There are more things I can do than you can imagine. Slowly you will know." Chen Yuyan smiled enigmatically, and patted Lin Huo on the shoulder. "Wang Jinsong will return to Iron Man soon. Long's territory to find out news for us, and next, I will go to Torch City to see what's going on with that Lu Weiwei. If necessary, I will find a way to hold them back." The two chatted along the way, and they took Ellie and Justin to visit the Antarctic base and the Atlantic base respectively, so that they could understand their basics in these worlds. Next, let Carly Lloyd take them to the streets of Dallas, take some videos and take them back to the world of radiation by the way, so that the scientists of the Academy waiting there can relax. Note 1, this is the European Aerospace Defense Group, EADS. Well, just understand it, it has nothing to do with the plot. All Heavens Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 419. 413, Save Sean. Then, Chen Yuyan was about to send Lin Huo away, and when he went to talk to the long-lost four-eyed girl by himself to talk about life, he suddenly received a call from Tomoko Gaoliang who had just left. "Boss Yan, just now," my assistant replied. Sean had a preliminary diagnosis at a top medical institution under the Sanli and Company. The experts there said that Sean's condition had deteriorated and it was basically hopeless. They can only temporarily suspend his life with some drugs, although Sean seems to be quite normal now, but that day may come at any time. Tomoko Gaoliang said. Chen Yuyan frowned, he was very reluctant to see Xiao An's death. Although this is destined in the game plot, Sean was already in the terminal stage of cancer when he appeared, and there was no way to save him. But Xiao An's popularity in the Academy is unmatched by anyone. If he dies, there will definitely be problems with the academy. Moreover, Sean himself is also knowledgeable, intelligent, and calm in situations. He is also a rare talent. Is there really nothing you can do? Chen Yuyan asked, still a little unwilling to give up. There is no conventional method, unless you want to try an unconventional method. Then, the only person you can find is Murphy. That guy is not reliable at all. Gao Liangzi said. Chen Yuyan understood what she meant by unconventional. He thought for a while, then called Gao Liangzi's assistant, and asked him to hand over the phone to Knight, and then asked Knight, "What did you plan?" About Sean. I want to save him. No matter what, he is my son. I have seen Nora die in front of me, and now I must not allow Sean to do this again. Knight seemed a little excited. If this is the case, we can indeed try some unconventional methods. But the success rate of this method is very low, maybe less than 10%. For most of the remaining possibilities, Sean may become a monster. Chen Yuyan said lightly. Knight was silent. He really couldn't make a decision for Sean on such a matter. At this time, Xiao En's voice came from the other end of the phone. Then, my choice depends on your expectations, Boss Yan. This is a gamble, but whether it is worth trying depends on how you think of me. It can be understood that Xiao En is bargaining, that is to say, if his status in Chen Yuyan's heart is not high, he is not willing to gamble. After all, he has reached the age of knowing his destiny. And if Chen Yuyan told him that he was very important in his plan, then he would definitely be allowed to truly participate in the core decision-making in the future. Chen Yuyan took a deep breath, and said slowly, to me, you are not only comparable to a college. You have also seen the vast stage in front of us. I hope that you can be my deputy, exert even greater power on the premise that you can survive. Then I'll give it a try. Sean replied lightly, and then handed the phone back to Knight. Boss Yan. Can you really save Xiao En? Knight asked eagerly. As I said, there is a 10% chance at most, and if it fails, Sean will turn into a monster. Chen Yuyan said, I'll try to push this matter forward. In the past few days, you can spend a good time walking around with Sean. Go shopping and enjoy the family happiness. After hanging up the phone, Chen Yuyan sighed. In fact, when Tomoko Koro proposed an unconventional solution, he had a candidate in mind. First of all, Murphy's is impossible. In the final analysis, this guy is just a dude. Although he has a degree, scientific research ability and management ability, he doesn't care about it at all. During this period of time, the new variant of the T-virus made him extremely excited. God knows when he will put the matter of purifying the world on the agenda again. Such a guy, let him study how to cure cancer? Compared to this, Chen Yuyan wanted to find a time to throw this sick-minded guy into the world of command and conquer. Then, the four-eyed girl is also impossible. Because she is just a mercenary who can do research, killing people is her main business, and her research direction has always been how to kill people more efficiently. So, Chen Yuyan sighed again, or can he only go to her? A dignified and beautiful figure flashed in his mind, and he secretly groaned in his heart. He had good intentions before, but in the end he found a fault and beat him up. And in fact, strictly speaking, he didn't win that one. He has already played all his cards, but anyone with a discerning eye can see that he has other methods to suppress the bottom of the box that are useless. If she went to find her now, she would definitely think that she had given in, a headache. Chen Yuyan scratched his hair and muttered in a low voice, I treat you like a boss, but you want to hum me, can't you just talk well? What did you say? Lin Huo, who was walking beside him, heard him muttering, and asked back. Ah, it's nothing, or you can go back to the world of command and conquer first, I have to find someone. Chen Yuyan sighed again. Lin Huo looked suspiciously at Chen Yuyan, who was full of reluctance, and became interested. It seems that you are quite afraid of that person? Who made you so afraid? Well, Alexia Ashford. Chen Yuyan answered truthfully. So you want her to save Sean? Lin Huo suddenly realized, if it is to find Alexia, I will go too. What are you going to do? She is the #1 genius in the world of Resident Evil. Of course I would like to meet such a person. Lin Huo spoke plausibly. Let me tell you that the relationship between me and her is very strange now, and there is a high possibility of a fight if we disagree. Chen Yuyan reminded. I remember you mentioned her to me. You had a fight with her at the Antarctica base before. Although you beat her away, she didn't kill her, and you left the entire base including the database intact. You? Lin Huo asked. That's right. Then I will tell you very responsibly that you will definitely not be able to fight this time if you go to find her. Lin Huo's eyes flashed brightly. Don't judge so hastily, that woman can no longer be described by normal people's thinking. Chen Yuyan said. Ah, I know this better than you. What kind of person she is clearly written in the game settings. Lin Huo said, I think things have developed to this point, maybe she wants to be with you even more. Occasions of a big fight. Alas, Chen Yuyan sighed again. England, Exeter City, suburb. A Lincoln commercial vehicle came to a manor with a very large area. This manor is quaint and has a very long history at first glance. The Baroque architectural style in the 18th century has not changed at all. It is classical, luxurious, and generous, full of historical and humanistic atmosphere. The commercial vehicle stopped at the gate of the manor, but the iron gate was not opened. The driver poked his head out, only to see an old man's voice coming from the intercom next to the iron gate. Sir, this is the private property of the Ashford family, please go back. Forget it, stretching your head and shrinking your head is just a knife. Chen Yuyan put his heart down, put down the car window and said, tell the owner of the manor that Chen Yuyan is visiting. A moment later, with a creak, the gate of the manor opened directly. Thanks to Slentnir for rewarding 100,000 starting coins to become the leader directly. Thank you for the 10,000 starting coins rewarded by Star Sea Rangers. Thank you for the 100 starting coins rewarded by the Assimilation Fighters. The protagonist's stall is very large, and some longer pages are needed to describe the protagonist's strategic direction and various components. So the recent chapters are mainly about transition and foreshadowing. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. All Heavens Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 420. 414 Wake Up. The commercial vehicle stopped at the gate of the classical building in the center of the manor, and there was already a well-dressed old man waiting with a few attendants. After the car stopped, the attendants hurried up to open the car door for them. Chen Yuyan, Lin Huo, and Yi got out of the car, and the old man hurried up to greet him, and said respectfully, it's Mr. Chen Yuyan, right? Please follow me, Miss Ashford has been waiting for a long time. Chen Yuyan and the others didn't talk much, they walked in, but the old man stopped Yi and Lin Huo. I'm sorry, the only person Miss wants to see is Mr. Chen Yuyan. Either let us all go in, or let us call in, the one that doesn't work even if you call the police, you choose one. Chen Yuyan said flatly. Please don't embarrass me, the old man touched the sweat on his forehead and said. Well, it's okay, as long as I don't make things difficult. Chen Yuyan pushed the old man aside, and then walked directly into the building. As imagined, the interior decoration of the four-story manor building can be said to be resplendent, similar to those of the palaces of European princes and nobles in the 18th century. There are precious carpets, black walnut furniture, crystal chandeliers hanging from the 7.8-meter high dome, and precious oil paintings hanging on the walls. Chen Yuyan noticed that in the middle, there was the largest oil painting hanging impressively, which was of Alexia herself. In the painting, she is wearing a luxurious dress, graceful and dignified, sitting on a chair, staring at everything in front of her eyes. It was completely impossible to tell that it was a 13-year-old girl. Only the sound of pattering footsteps could be heard. First, a foot wearing purple fish-toe high-heeled shoes appeared from the stairs on the second floor, then white stockings and a slightly raised lavender skirt, and then a foot embroidered with 3 layers of lace. Dress. A slender hand wearing a long white glove gently supported the handrail of the stairs and slowly slid down, and then, he saw the long golden hair that was as dazzling as the sun and a delicate, beautiful, elegant, and noble face. It turns out that this is Alexia's true self. It is countless times more beautiful than the ones I have seen in the game before. Lin Huo whispered next to Chun Yuyan. You know, the reason why I tolerate these 2 vulgar people entering my manor is entirely because of you, Yan. Alexia said slowly. What is not commensurate with her appearance and age is that her voice is a bit deep, which sounds like a voice of 20 or 30 years old, but it also makes her voice more majestic. If you still can't speak well, then believe it or not, I'll beat you. Her words scolded Yi as well. Chun Yuyan couldn't bear it. Is this how you come to ask others for help? Alexia asked lightly while going down the stairs. You must know that one of the vulgar people you mentioned is my daughter, and by the way, the other is my partner. If you continue to lack respect for the people around you like this, then I think we should directly compare life and death. Good. Because in that case, there is absolutely no possibility of any cooperation between us. Chun Yuyan turned back tit for tat. Alexia grabbed the corner of her skirt and gave a slight salute. So it's Yan's daughter? No wonder she has such powerful power. It seems that my judgment is correct. Only the combination of powerful genes can produce powerful offspring. Just now I'm sorry, Your Royal Highness. I don't like you. Although you seem to be stronger, this is not a qualification for you to be so rude. Yi also sarcastically said very rarely. Chun Yuyan couldn't help but look back at Yi, because she usually seemed to be indifferent to other people, but now she showed such obvious hostility towards Alexia. It's natural, we are the same kind of existence. A stronger and nobler existence than human beings. Pride is the only thing that ants can see from us. Alexia said, after learning that Yi is Chun Yuyan's daughter. After that, she actually had some intentions to avoid conflict. No, I don't think you are qualified to be compared with me and my father. Your superficial strength is not worth mentioning in front of us. Yi snorted coldly. He, you will have a chance to see my superficial power soon. Alexia was obviously on fire, literally, because a ball of flames had already burned in her hands, and the long white silk gloves on his back were burned to ashes. Not to be outdone, Yi silently recited the incantation, and a ball of lightning appeared in her hand. Seeing that things were already running offline, Chun Yuyan felt the veins on his forehead twitching wildly, and finally couldn't bear it any longer. He stood up and shouted, "Stop the hum! If any one of you dares to move, I will immediately just leave, and then you don't come to see me for 3 days and 3 nights. Yi immediately put away the lightning in his hand, looked at Chun Yuyan with a pair of beautiful eyes, grabbed his arm and said coquettishly, "Dad." Alexia's expression also eased, and the flame disappeared from her hand. She went down the stairs, stood in front of Chun Yuyan, and said in an extremely arrogant tone, "If there is anyone in this world who can make me stop, it is only you, Yan." Chun Yuyan only felt that his head was getting bigger, so he was not polite, went directly to the sofa and sat down, then grabbed a handful of grapes on the coffee table, stuffed them into his mouth and swallowed them. The grapes on the ice were cold and sweet, which made him feel extremely refreshed. Then he leaned on the back of the sofa, patted the armrest and said, "Come and sit." Alexia walked over without hesitation, but she went directly to the armrest of Chun Yuyan's sofa and sat down leaning on his arm. Before Chun Yuyan could react, Yi pouted and ran to Chun Yuyan's other side, sat on the armrest, and leaned against Chunyuyen's chest like a city committee member. Chunyuyen's evil fire, which had just been suppressed by the ice grapes, rose again. He coughed dryly, stood up, sat on the sofa opposite, and said to Alexia straight to the point, "I want you to help me save my life." One person. Saving people? This is not my job. Alexia, who had just been rejected, said coldly. Then what is your job? To be a young lady? Chunyuyen asked back. Isn't it? I'm the leader of the Ashford family, so being a good lady is what I need to do. Alexia said it as it should be. Chunyuyen decided not to talk to her about this matter, and continued, I have a very important friend, he is already in the terminal stage of cancer, is there any way you can save him? The advanced stage of cancer means that the malignant tumor has already destroyed the immune system of the human body. For lowly creatures like humans, it is hopeless. Alexia said decisively. Then what if it's not human? Alexia smiled very elegantly, moved her body and sat on the sofa, and said, it depends on how much you are willing to pay. It's not about the price, I just want to invite you to be my partner. Chunyuyen said. Partner? With all due respect, Yan. Apart from yourself, what other things do you have that are useful to me? Your toy-like group? That group may not be as good as the one in the living room where you are now. Worth it? Alexia smiled. You're wrong, Alexia. The real value of the toy-like group you mentioned can easily buy 100 Ashford families. Chunyuyen said. Who gave you the confidence? Alexia put away her smile, and the mention of the family seemed to hit her in the gut, especially when she heard Chunyuyen belittle the Ashford family, which made her even more unacceptable. I don't want to boast. In fact, your value to me is just the Veronica virus, but I am very grateful that you handed over the virus database directly to me. That's why this conversation and the possibility of our cooperation are now possible. As for the value of our group, you can find out for yourself, buy individual shares or something. Chunyuyen said. Shares. Alexia's expression began to show some contempt. How much? $1. Take it as the ticket price for the visit. Chunyuyen replied, seeing is believing is believing. You should go and see for yourself to understand what the Ruins World Group owns. Then you will know, what does it mean to want you to cooperate? So, you came here today just to lure me into the gang? I'm here to ask you to save people, and I'm just getting you to join the gang, it's just a reward for saving people, so I'll suffer a bit. Alexia frowned, and she said, actually, no matter what the Ruin World Group has, as long as you promise to combine with me and inherit the Ashford family business, then our entire family will become your own strength. In the family with the help of the Ruin World Group, the potential of the Ruin World Group will only be brought into play 100 times, 1,000 times. I've said it before, I don't want to live like you. Chunyuyen replied straightforwardly. Alexia finally couldn't take it anymore, she stood up abruptly and asked loudly, living like me? How can I live like me? I graduated from Cambridge University at the age of 10 and completed all the courses. 11 years old became the director of the laboratory all the way after entering Umbrella Corporation within a few months. Independently developed the Veronica virus at the age of 13. I am the heir to the multi-billion fortune of the Ashford family. I also have a beauty that surpasses all others. I am the one who perfectly integrated the Veronica virus, and I am also the only queen of the entire Veronica group. I have it all. Wisdom, wealth, beauty, strength, longevity, power. Everything that people spend their entire lives dreaming of is concentrated in me. If you want to say that you are living like me, then I can only take it as your humble compliment. Because my appearance is the most perfect appearance. She was so excited that her whole body was trembling, she raised her hand and patted her chest, as if to remind Chunyuyen to look at her carefully, to see this perfect existence in front of her clearly. However, Chen Yuyan still only saw a pair of A's. Oh no, he saw the trace of loneliness hidden in the deepest part of Alexia's angry appearance. He said lightly, then, is it Alexia or Ashford standing in front of me? Both. Does it make a difference? Alexia was shaking with rage. Of course there is a difference. Because I only see a person who has carried too many things since birth, dare not love, dare not hate, dare not play, dare not be lazy. Everything must be based on the premise of the family, even his own poor bastard whose nature needs to be suppressed. Like, Chen Yuyan's figure suddenly exploded, and he came to Alexia with lightning speed. Snapped. A loud slap fell on the girl's cheek. Alexia was immersed in her own emotions and didn't react at all, covering her face and froze. If a family declines to such an extent that a 13-year-old girl must sacrifice her childhood to continue, then this family should be destroyed as soon as possible. You should wake up. A family is a family, and you are you. You are nothing but a 13-year-old little girl. The kind who will go to jail for doing anything to you. Don't be married all day long. You should do something that a little girl should do, Chen Yuyan said, throwing down a movie with his backhand phone. I will assume that you have a way to save that person. Then just wait for my message. I will send him over directly. Alexia lowered her head, covered her face, and said nothing. Chen Yuyan ignored her, walked over and patted Lin Huo, who was stunned by the accident, and left directly with Yi Yi. Oh! Martinez! 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 3 strikes! 3 strikes! Huge cheers rang through the sky, and the entire stadium was flooded with a sea of white and red. Fanatical fans wore white t-shirts with red letters on them, and baseball caps with a letter B on them, waving message vigorously, and several large flags fluttered in the auditorium. This is Fenway Park, not Diamond City, or the ruins destroyed by the nuclear bomb, but Fenway Park. The oldest and most prestigious ballpark in Major League Baseball. Pedro Martinez has a calm face, holds the ball on the board, and rubs his injured shoulder. He is the star pitcher of the Boston Red Sox. Although he injured his shoulder in the previous game, he stood up without hesitation at this critical moment. He looked at the scoreboard. The Boston Red Sox were 2-5 Indians, trailing by 3 points. The opponent had 1 man on second base and 1 man on third base. As a pitcher, he couldn't let the score continue to expand. Get into position, take a deep breath, draw a perfect arc with your arms, and the ball flies out with a lot of spin, and the opposing batter is obviously so confused by the pitch that he can't even make a swing. Puff. The catcher catches the ball firmly. Strikeout. Oh. There was a thunderous cheer on the court, and at this moment, it was the only voice in the entire city of Boston. Strikeout. It's now. Counterattack. Counterattack. Knight waved his arms frantically, crying loudly with tears streaming down his face. His voice was already hoarse, but he was still screaming with all his strength. Beside him, Sean sat quietly, also wearing a black baseball cap with the letter B embroidered on his head. He looked at the crazy stadium in front of him, his expression was extremely complicated, and then he looked at the frenzied Knight next to him, with a knowing smile on the corner of his mouth. Only those who have experienced the end times will cherish all this, and will sacrifice everything to protect such a life. Sean turned around and said. Chen Yuyan smiled, enjoy the family happiness. Maybe this is the last time you and Nate get together. Thanks Ji Yi for the 6,666 book coins rewarded. All Heavens Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 421. 415 Strange Discovery. Hearing this, Xiao An didn't speak. After a long time, he said quietly, for me, I originally thought that there would never be family affection in my life. Do you know? The biggest problem with techies like you is thinking too much, always thinking this way and that way, and adding things that don't belong to you. But in fact, many things are actually very simple. Yes. Chen Yuyan smiled, you always want something to redefine human beings, but you don't actually think about the need for you. Natural selection, the environment changes, and human beings will naturally change. The definition of human beings has never been it's not something the stinky skin can decide. You don't understand, the kind of despair in the last days, unable to see the future. If it weren't for the support of the great ideal of redefining human beings, the academy would not have lasted until then. Xiao En said with a sigh. I really don't understand, and you don't need to understand in the future, because the end of the world is in another world. Now that the academy has been pulled into my chariot, there is only one question on your mind: how to win. Until win to the end. Chen Yuyan said. Sean looked back at the court. Win. We won. Sean. We won. Knight roared with great excitement, his face was flushed with excitement. Chen Yuyan looked at the scoreboard, which showed Boston Red Sox 12:8 Indians. A smile also appeared on Sean's face. He stretched out his hand and gently grabbed Knight's skirt. At this moment, it seemed that it was not a 60-year-old man who was grabbing the skirt, but a 10-year-old who was right about the world. Life is full of longing, children. Yeah, we won, Sean said the last words, his arms drooping weakly. Sean. Sean, what's wrong with you? Wake up. Boss Yan. Boss Yan, Sean, Knight's anxious voice came from next to his ear, and Sean showed a warm smile. The darkness and silence that engulfed everything. You didn't lie to me, Boss Yan. I never thought I would really have a chance to watch a Boston Red Sox game with Sean. Knight still had tears on his face. But to be honest, although you explained it carefully, Sean obviously still doesn't understand baseball. Chen Yuyan said. But, that's enough. Hee. Chen Yuyan patted him on the shoulder. Look, the two major wishes in life you told me last time. The first is to take Sean to a Boston Red Sox game, and the second, it was Sean who was admitted to a top university. Although the situation has changed, you still watched the game together, and Sean now, it should be said that he is not only admitted to a top university, he is also the president of the Federal Institute of Technology. Haha. Yeah, I don't know what to say now, Knight said excitedly. What else can I say? Let's look ahead. We came out of the world of Fallout, but we came to another, bigger cage. There are countless worlds here, and I can't even tell what is in front of me. Is it real or illusory? But I am absolutely sure of one thing. Chen Yuyan's expression became very serious. We must fight, fight, fight all the way. Until we break through the heavens and worlds. Can we? Of course, fall on the road or fall on the starting point, which one do you choose? Knight's eyes became firmer. Does it need to be said? Even if it's to protect the current life, I will fight. Chen Yuyan nodded and said, Xiao En, I have sent someone to the Antarctica base. There is a genius scientist there who is treating him. If she can't, then I think that in these worlds no one else can do it. So, you have to be mentally prepared. Knight nodded, grabbed Chen Yuyan's shoulders and shook vigorously, then said, this world is called Resident Evil, right? Since the space-time channel is still unstable, I'll go back to radiation. There's a lot to do, and I need to hold down the scientists over there. I'll leave it to you over there. Saying goodbye to Knight, Chen Yuyan picked up the phone and was about to contact the Wolf Pack team, but at this time Lin Huo's call came first: come to the base in Antarctica as soon as possible, and put the Wolf Pack team on its feet. Hearing the serious tone of the forest fire, Chen Yuyan immediately felt that something serious had happened. He hurriedly booked a ticket to fly to Santiago, Chile, and then took a helicopter from Chile to the base in Antarctica. Come. Back at the base in Antarctica, Chunyuan found that Four Eyes had arrived. He walked quickly 2 steps over, grabbed her slender waist unceremoniously and said, "Long time no see, Four Eyes, do you miss me?" The Four Eyes haven't changed much from before. She rolled her eyes at Chunyuan and said, "You've only been away for less than a week, and now your methods of striking up conversations are so boring? It looks like a week to you, but it's been months to me. I'll get rid of Lin Huo later, and I need to listen to your recent work report alone," Chunyuan said. The Four Eyes looked at him with pity and said, "Are there only hormones left in your brain now? If there are excess hormones, go find her." Following the gaze of the Four Eyes, she found that it was Alexia, but she was not wearing that expensive long skirt, but was wearing a white coat and her hair was tied up, looking quite capable. Sensing Chunyuan's gaze, Alexia turned her head around, and she looked around, with a gloomy expression on her face. Chunyuan didn't want to worry about it so much. He hugged her 4 times in front of Alexia carelessly, and even pinched her waist. The Four Eyes were suddenly angry, and she bumped her elbow, but was blocked by Chunyuan, who had been prepared for a long time, but she took the opportunity to break free from his clutches, turned her head and walked towards the command center. Not long after, Looper, Beltway, and Bertha also arrived. Hank, Ghost, and Victor were on a mission outside and did not come over. So they came to the command center, and Lin Huo was already waiting. "Did you find anything, Lin Huo?" Chunyuan got straight to the point, looked at the genius girl sitting on the other side, and asked with some doubts, "Also, why did you let Alexia join?" "Actually, I found this thing in Alexia's manor." Lin Huo took out a cufflink. This cufflink seems to be made of platinum, with a shield-shaped coat of arms on the front. It looks elegant and generous, and it is definitely made by a famous artist. It is a custom-made model, the kind that cannot be bought even if you have money in the market. Chunyuan frowned and asked, "Is there anything special about this cufflink?" He reached out to grab it. "Stop! Don't touch it!" Lin Huo hurriedly retracted the cuff button and said sharply, "There is a curse on this cuff button." "Curse?" Chunyuan turned pale with shock. "How can there be curses in this world?" "Actually, it's a curse. And it's a very hidden curse. The specific effect needs to be analyzed, but one thing is certain is that this curse acts on the spirit." Lin Huo's face was serious. All Heavens Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 422. 416 Absolutely. A curse that acts on the spirit. Chunyuan frowned. He turned his head to look at Alexia, but found that the talented girl's face was also a little ugly, so he asked, "Alexia, what's the matter with this cuff button?" "These are my brother Alfred Ashford's cuff links, which were given to him by Oswell E. Spencer." Alexia replied directly with a cold tone. "What about you? You had a feeling before, that's why you insisted on going to England with me?" Chunyuan looked back at Lin Huo. "Absolutely not. I just want to worship Queen Alexia." Lin Huo smiled obsequiously at Alexia. Alexia turned her head in disdain, but her slightly curved mouth it shows that she is quite useful. Lin Huo continued, "After entering the manor, I noticed the fluctuation of magic in the direction of the cloakroom. You must know that in this world where magic cannot exist at all, this faint fluctuation is as obvious as the candlelight in the dark night. So when you were talking to the queen, I casually recruited a familiar to take this thing away. That is to say, this cufflink was left by the last experimenter, who, Woolman Schindler, is also a magician." Chunyuan frowned. "And he has undoubtedly got involved with Oswell E. Spencer. Why did Spencer give you something?" Lin Huo asked Alexia. "Spencer didn't know where he got the news that I was sleeping in the base in Antarctica, so he came over and wanted me to join him. When he came, he brought some small gifts for Alfred and me. This cufflink, it's one of them." Alexia replied, "You just said that there is magic on it." You want to tell me that there is magic in this world? Lin Huo snapped his fingers, and a flame appeared in front of him. He said, magic does not exist in this world, but other worlds do. And we are from other worlds. You too? Alexia looked at Chenyuyan. Chenyuyan nodded. Alexia looked away and sat there thinking. So I'm going to take this cufflink back to show to my teacher. He should be able to see the origin of this curse. Then you have to pay attention here, because the other party is probably a very strong magician. He said that at least he has a strong attainment in black magic, and he has absolutely no good intentions in cursing people around Alexia. Lin Huo said. Chenyuyan thought for a while, then suddenly said, wait a minute. If the other party is a magician, and he is in collusion with Oswell E. Spencer, then H.C.F's idea of attacking Umbrella's Caucasus base is dangerous. Gone. In fact, Hank, Phantom, and Victor didn't come here because of this incident. They are collecting intelligence in Georgia, Looper said. What happened? Chenyuyan asked. H.C.F made an action before. They sent a mercenary team to the Caucasus base, and then lost all news. Rupiah replied. Then if Hank and the others are trying to collect information on the Caucasus base, let them evacuate immediately. Give up all actions. The other party is a real power with magic. We don't know what he can do. Chenyuyan said immediately. Looper didn't hesitate, stood up immediately, turned on the communicator and started contacting Hank, but after a while, she walked back with a gloomy face. Hank and the others also lost contact. Beltway jumped up violently and shouted loudly, then what are you waiting for? Go to Georgia and get them back immediately. You humming stop. Chenyuyan yelled sharply, sit down. Don't say a word, listen to me. Beltway was like an angry bull, panting and roaring, every minute we delay here, Hank and the others will be in greater danger. If we rush in like this, there will really be problems. There is no doubt that the other party has obviously set a trap in the Caucasus base. The other party is an experimenter, and he must also know that H.C.F will attack the Caucasus base. Chenyuyan said, Lin Huo. Don't delay, immediately go to your world to find your master, Archmage Edwin, and ask about the origin of the magic on this cufflink. Okay. Without saying a word, Lin Huo immediately disappeared in a flash of white light. Looper, you set off for Georgia immediately, but don't act rashly, just find a suitable place in Tbilisi to establish our base. You take Yi and Four Eyes and go there, Beltway and Bertha, you follow. I'm here waiting for the news of the forest fire, and by the way, I have something to give you a try. Chenyuyan said. I'm going now too. Cried Beltway. Chenyuyan looked at him viciously, and said slowly, you, leave me alone. Hank is the toughest and most powerful commando soldier I have ever seen. Ghost also has rich combat experience. Victor is very skilled. I believe that even if they really suffer, they will still have a way to save their lives. Looper said. So we have to be careful, and we must ensure that one blow is fatal, and we can't get ourselves involved instead of being rescued. Chenyuyan said. Let me participate in this operation. He dares to attack my brother, and he will never be forgiven. Alexia said with a gloomy face. No. Your recognition is too high, and the other party can recognize you at a glance. Chenyuyan shook his head and refused. If the matter with Sean is almost over here, then I suggest you go back to England as soon as possible and see if there is anything unusual about your brother. Humph. I don't need you to command. Alexia was obviously upset. She snorted coldly, stood up, and walked away. Chenyuyan thought for a while, then called Gao Liang's Haizi and asked, what is Sanlian's attitude towards you now? The attitude towards a loser. Tomoko Gao Liang replied coldly. They didn't expel you, which means they don't know that you are already on my side. Chenyuyan continued to ask. Even if you don't know, I failed in the attack on the base in Antarctica, and the only person who escaped was Wesker. This is a good explanation. They will no longer trust me. Gao Liangzi said. Then can you find out about H.C.F's military operations in Georgia from your sources? I can only say that I can give it a try, but I'm not sure what news I can get. Why, do you want to join forces with H.C.F? Right now we don't have the strength to eliminate H.C.F, so if we have a common enemy, it would be nice to join forces. Chen Yuyan said. I see. It just so happens that I am also very interested in Wesker's actions after returning from Antarctica, so let's investigate this time too. Tomoko Gaoliang said. After hanging up the phone, Chen Yuyan found that everyone in the conference room had left except for Bertha, who was standing motionless, and Beltway, who was fidgeting. He waved to them and said, "Come on, I got some new equipment for you to try." After finishing speaking, he directly took out 2 sets of T-60 power armor from his personal space. Thank you for the 1000 starting coins rewarded by Star Sea Rangers. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. All Heavens Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 423. 417 The Worst Enemy. Beltway couldn't take his eyes off the moment he saw the power armor full of mechanical sense and the vicissitudes of the wasteland written on the thick metal armor. What is this? Beltway reached out and stroked the power armor, feeling the coldness from his fingertips, and smelling a strong smell of engine oil from the engine. Power armor, something I brought from another world. I observed the combat style of the Wolf Pack team. Only the 2 of you move less on the battlefield. Others, including Four Eyes and Rupier, will have a lot of armor. Move to find fighters, and although the Ghost moves very little, he is a sniper and needs to operate stealthily. So, I brought you 2 power armors. Come and try it. Chen Yuyan said, turning the power armor the valve at the back. The rear of the armor immediately unfolded, revealing a space in the middle that just accommodated 1 person. Bertha stepped in suspiciously, and Chen Yuyan reminded from behind, "Did you see the control panel on the front? Just start it up." Bertha did so, and the deployed power armor immediately shrank back, reuniting as one. Then, under Bertha's control, she moved awkwardly. Beltway also followed suit. He first wanted to get into the power armor, but found that he was a bit too big, so he came out and took off all his clothes, leaving only his underwear, so that he could get in more comfortably. When they started testing the power armor, Chen Yuyan was not idle, and now he still has more than 40,000 points in his hand, too lazy to count, and it happened to start some construction at the base in Antarctica. The research of technology in the Infinite Base has also started since he first came back. In the past 2 days, the research of some laboratory buildings needed by the scientists of the Academy has been completed. He is currently researching the technology of Mr. Skillful Hands. After the research of this robot is completed, it will become the flagship product of the Ruin World Group. After all, Mr. Skillful Hand is a mature robot that has been proven in the world of Fallout. Before the outbreak of that world war, Mr. Skillful Hand was already a butler robot that swept the entire United States. And now, Chen Yuyan wants to make this kind of robot popular all over the world. At the same time, the 3 production lines in the Infinite Base are not idle, and the 3rd-level production line in the manufacturing center is continuously producing T-51B power armor. The reason why T-51B was chosen instead of T-60 was mainly because T-51B was a power armor developed by the US Army before the war for an all-out war with Yan. Got to a nice balance. Not only has a good anti-kinetic energy bomb capability, but also a good defense against laser weapons, fire protection, radiation protection, and chemical weapons. The T-60, as an upgraded version of the T-45 power armor developed by the Brotherhood of Steel after the war, puts too much emphasis on bulletproof performance, and its performance in radiation protection and energy weapons is not very good. That's why the main enemies the Brotherhood of Steel face are marauders and super mutants with homemade guns. But what he gave to Beltway was T-60, because this guy is an explosive maniac, let's give him something more solid. Using the secondary production line provided by the remaining two subsidiary manufacturing stations, the construction of a robotics laboratory and a physics laboratory in camouflage mode at the Antarctic base will be started, and scientists from the Robotics Department, Synthetic Human Department and Advanced Systems Department of the college will be gradually sent it over. Although the damage to the Antarctica base wasn't that great, and in fact, the space wasn't fully utilized when Alexia was here. At that time, her father, Alexander Ashford, was mediocre. Later, Alexia fell into a deep sleep, and her brother Alfred Ashford also focused on Rockford Island, and did not make too much progress on it. Much development. After the laboratory is completed, Chen Yuyan will build a batch of first-generation synthetic human production lines in succession at the Antarctica base, and start researching the second-generation synthetic human technology. This kind of low-cost synthetic human will solve the problem of insufficient manpower in these experimental bases to a large extent, and these synthetic human will not be sold externally, and will only be used in the Atlantic Research Institute and the Antarctica Research Institute. Chen Yuyan already had a clear plan for these two research institutes. The main direction of the Antarctica Research Institute is the research of tiberium mines and the research and manufacture of robot-related technologies, because the environment of Antarctica can well hide the production lines of robots, and can also restrain the spread of tiberium mines. As for Alexia's Veronica virus laboratory, it is still kept, maybe when she really wants to join the group, it can be used by her. The Atlantic Research Institute is currently mainly used by Murphy's to study the new T-virus variant he named T-Abyss. Because it was dismantled by Umbrella Company once before, the experimental facilities are still insufficient and need further construction. After the sufficient funds brought by Mr. Skillful Hands, this place will be used to accommodate scientists from the college's biotechnology department and FEV virus department. The last is the medical department of the college and the recycling department of synthetic humans. These two departments can be sent directly to the headquarters of the Ruin World Group to conduct relatively public medical research and turn some of the medical achievements of the college into profits. As a paramilitary department, the Synth Recycling Department can also exist as a military department under the group. When Chen Yuyan arranged, a white light flashed, and Lin Huo came back. He didn't hold the cufflinks in his hand, and his face was very serious, and he said directly, I let the teacher read it, and he told me that it is a kind of dark magic, but the system of this magic is different from his. Same. That is to say, this kind of magic is not the system of Dungeons and Dragons, but something else. In addition, the function of this kind of magic should be to affect a person's mind, allowing him to be remotely controlled by the caster. It can be understood as puppetry. Chen Yuyan frowned and said, in other words, the other party chose to attack Alfred because with Alexia's strength, this kind of mental magic can't be effective. It's okay, even if Alfred is controlled, and we can't do much damage if we're prepared. No, this is not the worst situation. Lin Huo shook his head, and then slowly said, the worst thing is, Mr. Edwin, I noticed the fluctuation of necromancy on this cufflink. The other party is a necromancer. Chen Yuyan jumped up suddenly, screaming in shock. All Heavens Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 424. 418 Prepare. Yes, the possibility is very high. Because necromancers are often proficient in curses, and because undead are immune to mental magic, they also like to use mental magic to torture their enemies. Therefore, the trace found on the cufflinks, the fluctuation of necromancy, is very likely to come from a necromancer. Lin Huo said. So those zombies infected by the T-virus are considered undead? Chen Yuyan asked. Unfortunately, forget it. Lin Huo replied. But, zombies shouldn't just be infected by the T-virus, should they be a variant of B.O.W? Chen Yuyan argued. In terms of magic, there is a complex set of rules for the definition of undead. For magic, a zombie is a body that has died, and the soul has dissipated, but is still active. It is an undead creature. I am on zombies and some B.O.W tried it, dispelling undead is effective for zombies. Lin Huo said. What about the other B.O.Ws? Chen Yuyan continued to ask. Basically level 1 B.O.Ws will be regarded as undead, including hell dogs, mutated bats, etc. It is probably because these B.O.Ws have basically been killed by the T-virus, and only the body is still following the instinct. Activities. B.O.Ws above level 2, such as hunters, have actually become new creatures, so they are not considered undead. Lin Huo explained. Then if that's the case, the situation is very serious. What will happen if a necromancer joins forces with Umbrella Company? Chen Yuyan's face became gloomy. That is to say, they can manufacture undead creatures on a large scale and control and strengthen them through necromancy. Normally, zombies will be restricted in their actions after their bodies decay or their body structures are damaged, but undead will not. They can move freely even if they have skeletons left, because their movements do not rely on muscles and tendons. Lin Huo said. So can you judge how strong the necromancer is? The strength of necromancers fluctuates greatly. A lone necromancer is no match for evocation, transformation, or strengthening wizards of the same level in a magic duel. But if he hides in his undead army among them, even if the mage is a level higher than him, it may not be the opponent of the necromancer. As for this necromancer, I think he has probably reached the level of the silver group. Lin Huo said. Silver group, that is to say, we are upgrading and becoming stronger, and the other party is not idle. Chen Yuyan touched his chin. I understand why the ghost didn't find out the other party's actions at all, because they didn't leave their lair. They just nested in the Caucasus Mountains to develop their own undead army. That's what it looks like. So how can a modern army fight against the undead? Zombies, skeletons, and other tangible undead spirits are actually quite easy to deal with, but I just don't know if Oswell Spencer will use the T-virus to combine with them. In addition, ghosts and banshees and other intangible creatures undead is really difficult. I have inquired some scattered information in the world of Command and Conquer. It is said that the experimenters over there often use laser weapons to fight ghosts during wars. Lin Huo said. What about the silver bullet? You can prepare some, but they are mainly for dealing with vampires, and where will you find them in a short time? Don't worry about it, I have a way to mass produce it. Also, what about the holy water? Holy water that has not been blessed by the gods is useless. In other words, the holy water in a world like Resident Evil is plain water. I can go to the world of Baldur's Gate and buy some. That's it, split up and see you in a day. After sending Lin Huo away, Chen Yuyan began to move without stopping. He left Beltway and Bertha to continue practicing power armor, but Bertha said to him, I don't like power armor. Huh? Why? It will make my fingers inflexible, and many medical devices will not work. Also, I don't like this feeling. Bertha's voice was as gloomy as usual. Chen Yuyan thought for a while, and took out a plasma pistol, which was seized in a marauder camp, and the database of the Brotherhood of Steel also had data on this gun. He raised the pistol and pulled the trigger towards the ground in front of him, only to see an energy module on the muzzle of the gun immediately glow green, and then emit a green plasma. After hitting the ground, the super high temperature instantly the surrounding stones are melting. You don't seem to like the M40-101, a rifle that needs to be used with both hands, do you? Then try this one? He handed the plasma pistol to Bertha. Bertha seemed very satisfied now, and walked towards the shooting range with the gun. Then Chun Yuyan returned to the world of Command and Conquer and asked the handicraft workshop in the ruined city to help him make a few silver bullets with a caliber of 7.62 mm, as long as they could be used by AK-47. Considering the hardness of silver is not high, he also specifically asked for a tungsten core to be installed in the center of the bullet. The workers in the manual workshop are very skilled, and they made 5 silver bullets in less than an hour. Chun Yuyan immediately scanned into the infinite base database, and then adjusted a secondary production line for continuous production. And according to the decomposition and combination function in the infinite base, all he produces are AK-47 special magazines filled with silver bullets. A magazine takes 10 seconds, requires 400 G of metal, and 50 G of tiberium crystals. It is very fast to manufacture, but it is a very hurtful thing to occupy a production line, but now I don't care about that much. Then Chun Yuyan immediately went to the world of radiation without stopping. He went directly to the Starlight Rest Station, which was a military base for the volunteer army, and many barracks and warehouses were under construction. And a large number of weapons and equipment seized from the Brotherhood of Steel are piled up in the newly built warehouse at the Starlight Rest Station. Ramirez happened to be here at this time, but Chun Yuyan didn't bother to greet him, and directly took a large number of laser weapons in the warehouse, and then returned to the world of Resident Evil without saying a word. He gave Bertha more than a dozen laser rifles and a large number of nuclear batteries, and asked her to set off immediately to send these weapons to Rupier and the others, and also brought the information obtained by Lin Huo there. Although regarding magic, necromancers, and undead, it feels a bit like reading a novel, but Bertha also understands that Chun Yuyan is not joking. It was as if he said before that he could take them to another world. Although it was unbelievable, it turned out that he was right in the end. Then Chun Yuyan took out a big guy from his personal space and placed it in front of Beltway. "What is this?" asked Beltway, who was having fun with the T-60 power armor. "This weapon is called Final Judgment. It is a special laser Gatling machine gun. This gun is very heavy and can only be used when wearing power armor. In addition, with this gun, your firepower alone can support a company." Chun Yuyan directly gave him Elder Maxon's exclusive weapon. "Ha ha ha ha. That's it? I like it. Ha ha ha." Beltway laughed loudly. He liked the shape of the gun very much, and immediately picked it up and ran outside.